Well, the thing that I love about photography is, the best thing about photography is also the worst thing about photography. The best thing is it makes me go outside, it makes me go out into the world, and people tell you their stories, and you get engaged in things, and then you have to respond to those things. I wouldn't want to be a sculptor who begins his day in a blank white room, just coming up with a piece of imagination. But the worst thing about photography is that you get trapped at that level of what things look like. All you can photograph is what a thing looks like. You can't talk about what a thing means, or how a thing came into being, or the process behind its existence, or its history. So what I want to find out is the sort of why the world is the way it is, and talk about history and historical precedent. So placing my pictures next to a photographer that was in Afghanistan in 1878 automatically makes you start to talk about, yeah, there are these empires, and they rise and fall and rise and fall, and each one of them is just a sort of wave crashing on the beach of Afghanistan, each one learning everything afresh from the beginning, everyone making all the same mistakes, listening to the same garbage lies, and blundering in with the same stupidities, thinking that they can rebuild this country into a liberal democracy full of feminists, if they kill enough of them. And that's what happened in 1878, and it's what's happening exactly now. So that's why I wanted to kind of pair the photography with that, in that moment in the past, because then it starts to penetrate through that superficial skin that is what photography has to be. This is the first time I've ever tried to make group portraits. And I never knew how to make a portrait work, because normally a group portrait is like, like a soccer team. It's like a whole lot of faces looking straight back at you. And it's like a wall, it's like a blockage. And it's horrible as a photograph, just doesn't work. And it wasn't until I saw Burke's pictures that he does three really great things, really. First of all, he lays out these carpets. He lays these carpets down on the floor that makes a kind of a theatre, an arena in which the photograph takes place. That's something that I stole from him straight into my pictures. I was carrying around a car full of carpets that I would lay out on the floor to make this kind of circus where the picture can happen. And the second thing is this kind of motion that he puts in the picture, that there's people doing this and this and this and this, and suddenly the picture is alive and it jumps about and it's got this kind of great motion to it. It's brilliant. I never would have occurred to me to do that until I saw Burke's work. So I'm pitching this thing as it's an artistic partnership between me and him. I learned a lot from the guy. Just because he's dead doesn't mean you can't have a partnership with him. It's in every other way completely equal. He taught me a great deal. You would expect an English photographer to photograph Afghans as defeated, abject, crushed, by this great imperial army that has just devastated their country. But when John Burke photographs an Afghan, they look out at the camera like this. Yeah, take my picture, mister. Yeah, I'm looking great. And they're wearing their best clothes. And they look cool and look confident. And the Englishmen are just mixed in amongst them, just like them, because Burke sees this civilization as really worthy of regard, a quite sophisticated, classical kind of society with kings and aristocracy and a police force and doctors and surgeons and scientists and landowners and all those kind of things that you found at home. He didn't think of these people as kind of, jungly barbarian tribesmen. On the contrary, he found Afghanistan to be a fairly civilized society, and that's how he photographed it. Which means we have this record which is so much more humanist and interesting than you could ever imagine to come out of that time. And that's his third claim to being a really great photographer, because the photography is unbelievably more gentle and generous than you would ever expect at that period. And that's because of his slightly in-betweener status between himself and the British and himself and the Afghans. And he's neither one nor the other, and so he photographs both with this equanimity, which is really rare. My approach was, if John Burke was here now, what would he photograph? What would he find interesting? What would he turn his camera towards? I'll tell you what he wouldn't be photographing. He wouldn't be photographing blurry pictures of boys in ditches shooting at distant mud-walled compounds, which is the picture we get from Afghanistan times 1 billion. Now, have I seen that picture 1,000 times? I'm bored stiff of seeing this picture of our brave heroes in the sandbox shooting at distant buildings and calling in bombs on things. I've seen that 1 million times. And, this is something that occurred to me when I thought about working in Kabul. Kabul, scary place, dangerous place. What am I going to do? It's really scary. Yeah, it is a dangerous place. It's also a place where 5 million people raise their kids and go to school and have jobs and live their lives. And they're not terrified every hour of the day. And if you can place yourselves in that a little bit, then it's possible to look from that outwards and start trying to make some photographs.